Hi, I'm Amber Tavio, VP of Product Management here at Excella, and welcome to today's session, The Future of Citizen Service Delivery. I'm here to talk to you today about the lessons learned from the accelerated digital transformation in state and local government that was triggered by the pandemic. And we're going to talk about recommendations and ideas on things to consider as you continue your modernization journey and enhance service delivery post-pandemic and beyond. Now, the COVID-19 virus has forever changed the world and life as we know it. Even once it's over, things will not return to the way it was before. It will change our approach to where we work, how we get there, and much more. The pandemic fast-tracked many service models out of necessity, but it also created a platform for these service models to be tested at a much higher volume. When reimagine how your organization will handle service delivery post-pandemic, evaluate how some of these could affect and translate into the way your agency delivers services. Let's start with the virtual and remote engagement. With the abrupt closure of many offices and workplaces, this led to a new era of remote work for millions of Americans. This marks a major and immediate shift in the service delivery framework for anything that involved a person-to-person interaction. Managing a large, complex project in a remote working model requires seamless and secure communication. It involves collaboration and also monitoring to make sure things are getting done properly. And while this is not an easy shift, in light of COVID-19, remote engagement scenarios will become exceedingly more common. How might government deliver services in the long term with a remote workforce? And what types of services might change or need to change? We're going to talk a little bit more about this later in today's session. Next, let's talk about online retail. Now, e-commerce was growing fast before COVID-19 hit, but the pandemic pushed even more U.S. consumers online. More than $1 in every $5 spent on retail purchases come from online orders, and more than half were done from a mobile device. Now, obviously, during a pandemic, consumers are avoiding stores, but is this temporary? Are we on the edge of a massive change in how we shop? With everything considered, it makes complete sense with more people online ever before. It allows businesses to connect with their customers on a much larger scale and provides products at a far easier convenience for the consumer. More than just transacting online, retailers have found ways to personalize the experience for at-home shoppers. Could any of these methods transfer into how government connects with their businesses and residents? All right, I don't know about you, but pickup and delivery services have certainly changed my life and have changed the face of grocery retailing, likely forever. Millions of households started buying groceries online for pickup or home delivery, and many of these will continue after the crisis passes. This extends to other services like restaurant delivery, personal shoppers, title company representatives, and notaries now come to your home instead of you going to their offices to close on a loan. Now, this is a very interesting one. Could local government tap into these existing services for similar needs? Could they offer similar services to those that do not have the ability to transact online or go to city offices? In 2020, the pandemic significantly impacted theatrical home entertainment. As movie theaters and production studios temporarily closed and millions were quarantined, viewers were forced to stay home for their video entertainment. Stay-at-home viewers were able to watch premium TV and movies across various screens and providers. And while this trend was already beginning, many agree that the pandemic had sped up the pace of adoption with a 31% increase in 2020. This has also led to other forms, such as live online concerts, personal interactions with entertainers, master classes, and much more. Now, many government leaders and agencies have already started doing things like streaming public meetings and using social media and other platforms to connect with their community. But is there more to be learned from these platforms and services about how to engage a community and reach your audience? Would it be valuable for your planners to have their own masterclass where they can lay out the 5 and 10 and 20-year vision for the city? Or business leaders provide insights to small business owners on how to do business within the city? All right, now how many of you have a virtual assistant in your home or your car or on your phone? When was the last time you asked Siri to call a friend while driving, or remind me to take the garbage out tomorrow morning? Or Google, how many ounces are in a quart? Or Alexa, play Bohemian Rhapsody. Increasing popularity has pushed the AI virtual assistant technology towards rapid innovation and development. How could virtual assistants help staff be more productive and assist the public to get to the information and the services that they need? All right, next let's talk about machine learning. It is one of the most used technologies in this generation. It has transformed businesses across industries for the better and is now seeing an increased adoption in all sectors to accelerate innovation and provide better customer service. For example, Nike uses machine learning for personalized product recommendations. Could cities use machine learning to personalize a resident's experience? For example, if they've registered a pet in the city, they might be interested in local dog parks and animal services in the area. Another example is how BMW uses machine learning to analyze vehicle subsystems and recommends when they should be serviced. Could similar technologies help cities predict infrastructure maintenance and repair? And are there other ways government can use machine learning to get faster and more accurate data gathering and processing so that they can focus on more complex long-term solutions? Now, there are so many more examples. However, these are becoming the most popular and don't seem to be going away anytime soon. We talk a lot about how government is focused on shifting online services to be more comparable to consumer-like experiences, like making a purchase on Amazon. But now with these new service delivery models and technologies in play, expectations of the public are rapidly evolving, and implementing some of these concepts could result in significant productivity and positive outcomes for our community. Now, we all know implementing new delivery models requires significant change in mindset and culture and operations. But insights have emerged from this remote work. This has also created an opportunity to change organizational behaviors and to gain meaningful workforce intelligence. Governments are becoming more effective partners to local communities and taking the opportunity to focus on building relationships between all levels of government, and together developing strategies that reflect the operation of government as a system, not as a series of silos. Now, a lot of this work simply cannot be done without high-touch collaboration. But COVID-19 has shown that humans and technology can perform more effectively together than on their own. With the shift to remote work and different ways to connect combined with technology, there's all sorts of possibilities. Let's take a look at some examples. The first is virtual inspections. Now, this was not a popular practice prior to the pandemic. According to the NAHB survey, virtual building inspections was only available to 4% of builders and 20% of municipalities, leaving 75% of the industry waiting for in-person inspections. But when circumstances forced many agencies that direction, they found it to be life-changing. With virtual inspections, contractors can upload pictures and videos and/or request live video conferences to complete inspections remotely. For those agencies that had implemented virtual inspections, not only were they keeping their people safe, they were able to manage high volumes of inspection levels they never thought was possible. In fact, numbers show inspectors can perform 3 times more inspections virtually than in person. It also is showing cost savings for contractors and the jurisdiction in both transportation, operations, and office expenses. The tech has also shown to be a very valuable tool for employee recruitment and retention. But will this stay after the pandemic? Most agencies are saying we are not going back to in-person inspections. But we all know there will be a balance between those that are more critical and for the community members that don't have the ability to do them remotely. All right, now let's talk about data. Now, we saw a dramatic uptick in governments using data for better service delivery. Governments collect and hold more data than ever, and applying data analytics across the entire organization allow governments to do things like allocate their resources better, lower their operating costs, and meet the changing needs of citizens. Risks are often hidden deep within multiple layers, And so having the visibility of warning signs can allow government organizations to be more agile when responding to potential threats or identify hardest hit areas by a major event, such as a pandemic or a natural disaster. It can predict or identify risk areas or find efficiencies in operations. For example, inspections identify risk factors and help government improve public safety. Many counties are using data analytics to improve their restaurant inspection process with a 20 to 40% improvement in overall operational efficiencies. With these changes, they are finding critical violations that make people sick over a week sooner than the existing process. The same type of modeling could be translated into other scenarios, such as identifying high-risk structures for fires and help fire departments prioritize their fire inspections, or identify areas at risk for blight or flooding, and also identify the outcomes of a natural disaster to help with future planning and put things in place that will help speed up the recovery process. Overall, we found that more leaders in government are recognizing the power of data and the technology that can help surface the information you need to understand what's going on in your community and make significant change. Next, let's talk about the role cloud-based solutions played during the pandemic. In the COVID-19 crisis, cloud and software as a service proved their value. And with this practical demonstration, many organizations will accelerate the adoption of cloud and SaaS going forward. The pandemic helped to prove out the case for modernization IT leaders had already understood, but now they can point to tangible outcomes. They were able to serve their constituents overnight. And for those that had already started down that path, they were able to move faster than ever because they had more staff and more time to focus on innovation. Various studies show that agencies that have on-prem solutions in place spend 80% of their time on maintenance and support, and 20% on innovation. And those with SaaS solutions spend 30% on maintenance and support, and 70% on innovation. The ability to innovate faster is one of the key benefits of modern cloud-based infrastructure to address complex problems and meet expectations and build trust. Agencies that promote a culture of innovation are more resilient and see significant improvements to public administration and public services. Now, we've talked about emerging service delivery models and concepts, and we've talked about reimagining operational changes, the importance of innovation, and the technology toolkit for government to do this. So now let's talk about some trends and practical considerations that can help you as you re-architect your public services. Seamless service delivery. Now, what does this mean? Seamless service means that you remove all potential frustration points for customers. You make that service experience, that complex part of the processes, feel almost invisible to them. Customers should not have to work hard to communicate with you. Here are some effective ways to do this. Personalization means that the service is tailored to the individual's needs, essentially the opposite of one size fits all. It needs to be frictionless, which means that accessing the service is easy. There's no hoops to jump through. There's no frustrating barriers. Think of a one-click shopping or other apps that make it easy to get what you want fast. And it is predictive in nature. It anticipates what you want next and offers it proactively. Do the services you provide today check these boxes? If the answer is no, you may want to reconsider your approach. Here are a few ways you can do this. First, shift from a government-centric lens to a citizen-centric lens. This means do not design and deliver services based on the government process requirements, and instead focus on the needs of the people that you serve. Think about what they need to accomplish and help them get it done from the very first touch point. Well, here's an example. A resident wants to build a shed. To build a shed, they need an accessory building permit. Most people do not know what an accessory permit is. If they went to the city's website and there was a list of permits to apply for, they would have no idea which one to pick or if they needed one at all. So how do you solve for this? The city's website is usually the first time a citizen engages with their city. This is why it's important to make valuable information as easy to find as possible. But did you know that in a scenario like this, the city's website is typically not the first touch point? Do you know where it is? It's search engines like Google, and it's typically done from a mobile device. So not only should your website contain the details on what is required to build a shed, search engines need to pick up that information and the relevant web page to guide the user directly to what they need. This will also allow residents to use virtual assistants to get the same information. Google, do I need a permit to build a shed in my backyard? If Google is able to find this information from your website, the answer would be, according to your city's website, detached structures such as garages, carports, covered patios, greenhouses, and sheds over 120 square feet require a residential accessory building permit. And then guide them straight to the place with all the information they need to apply and understand the rules, requirements, and costs. In addition, provide other means to connect with a live person if they have questions that are not answered by the city's website. This could be over the phone, through emails, chats, or schedule time in person or virtually. And then measure the effectiveness of the services at each touch point. Use user behavior and direct feedback to make adjustments as needed. And the last approach is inclusive design. Inclusive design ensures that as many people as possible can use your product or service. Every single resident, young or old, rich or poor, internet savvy, or digital novice, is served. I recently watched a talk with Kate Holmes where she talked about inclusive design and mismatches, essentially those moments where human interactions are obstructed by an absence of appropriate design solutions. She uses an example of a playground that I'm going to summarize because I felt like it was compelling. This is a swing many of you may have grown up with, a flat seat with two chains. Now we ask ourselves who and what kind of abilities are required to interact with this design. You may need to be a certain height, a certain strength, two hands, probably two legs, a certain degree of balance. And as we start to create this list, it's clear that it's a very specific human being that this design was built for. Now, then you ask yourself, if we filled a playground with only this type of swing, the only people that would show up to play are those that matched this design, because it sends a message about who this playground was designed for and who it was not. And we see this in design all the time. Here's another example, a shopping cart. Now, this requires someone with many of the same characteristics as the swing, with a few more abilities. They need to be able to bend over to put items in the cart, and then reach in and pull them out to put them out on the checkout stand. They need to be able to maneuver around corners and people. But if the child in the cart began to climb out or cry, and that parent had to carry them and handle the cart at the same time, it becomes much more difficult. So this type of design doesn't account for permanent or even situational abilities or impairments. Disability is context dependent. It's not just about a specific health problem or aging, but a person can be temporarily impaired, like in the shopping cart example. If you've experienced life with a newborn baby, you will know how quickly you have to learn to do things with one hand. Similarly, if you're walking and updating Twitter at the same time, you might just benefit from a design that has been optimized for partially sighted people. We think about the diversity of our users from the very start of any project and include users with a range of access needs. It involves making sure no one is excluded from using the tools, the products, and the services that we create. Now, I know we covered a lot today, and I hope these ideas help you and your organization as you rethink service delivery and engage with your community in the future. As I wrap up, I just want to leave you with a few key takeaways. Focus on return on investment. Prioritize based on impact and outcomes for your community. Nurture a culture of innovation. Innovation is the catalyst to growth and change. So be open to new ideas and technology and unexplored approaches to solving problems. Commit to being adaptive to the market changes and the needs of your community. Build bridges across departments and agencies. Many of the technology challenges state and local government faced during the pandemic can be traced back to silos, but next-level digital transformation requires a collaborative government. Have an open dialogue with your residents and your business community, and leverage public-private partnerships. Local governments do not have to go at this alone. Start those discussions and develop joint solutions for what you want your futures to look like. Thank you.